Today we have a talk on some of the Sharia points, which is how do you do traveling? What else you are allowed to do or not allowed to do while traveling. So when you are traveling, and that's item 43, what things you are expected to do or allowed to do. Now traveling, the first one he said here in the book, that's you're allowed to shorten and combine the prayer. Whose paper is that? Yours. So you are allowed to shorten and combine. Shorten in Madhab Shafi'i and Maliki and Hanbali you're allowed. In Hanafi I think they don't combine, but they shorten the prayer. Instead of praying 4 rak'ah Zuhr, you pray 2. Instead of praying 4 rak'ah Asr, you pray 2. Now, if you're traveling, you cannot shorten the prayer unless you leave the city. You go outside the city. You are in the countryside. So, if you are still in the city, you can combine the prayers before you leave on your travel trip. You combine Dhuhr and Asr, the time of Dhuhr, and you have till before Maghrib. So at any time you could combine these, Dhuhr and Asr, and Maghrib and Isha, you can combine and pray when you reach your destination. Now, I gave them an example. My wife left 2 weeks ago. The plane took off from the airport at 12:30. Now Zuhr, 1 o'clock. So she cannot pray Zuhr and Asr before Zuhr. In very certain circumstances you can, but usually you can't. And she will arrive to Doha after Maghrib. So she have no choice but to pray in the plane. So what will be your advice to her? How to pray, when to pray, where to pray. She's going to pray in the plane. But when? There's 2 situations. Are you going to answer or shall I answer? You want to answer? Zain. When would you say to when you grow older and marry and your wife leaves you to go to visit her family and you married somebody from China? It's going far away. So what do you advise? I said to her, if it's 1 o'clock and you are still over Birmingham, Solihull, you pray 4 rak'ah Zuhr and 4 rak'ah Asr. The minute your plane go outside Solihull, you are over Coventry or you reached Peterborough, whatever, you pray 2 rak'ah Zuhr and 2 rak'ah Asr. So for you, the best wait till you see from the window that you are over the channel, the British channel, or you see that all green under you outside Solihull. So you pray 2 Zuhr and 2 Asr. If you want to pray straight when it's 1 o'clock, because the plane took off 10 to 1, after 10 minutes you're still over Solihull, you pray 4 Zuhr and 4 Asr. So to pray 2 Zuhr and 2 Asr, you have to be outside the city. Outside the city, the buildings of the city, usually in the countryside. All the rules came, obviously, when people are traveling on camels and horses and no cars at that time. But subhanAllah applies even now. You go by plane and it's applied now. So you're allowed to pray 2 rak'ah Zuhr, 2 rak'ah Asr, and 3 rak'ah Maghrib and 2 rak'ah Isha when you arrive to your destination. So she will arrive to Doha after Maghrib. It takes 6 hours from here to Doha, and it will be after Maghrib. 6 hours flight, and they are 3 hours ahead of us. So you will be there between nearly after Isha. And you pray 3 rak'ah Maghrib and 2 rak'ah Isha. So if you're traveling, you're allowed to shorten the prayer. Now, on your way back, it will be opposite. We left, when we went to Dubai, we prayed Fajr in Dubai, and we left Dubai, we stopped in Paris, and it was Fajr time in Paris. We already prayed Fajr, but because of the 3 hours gap and you're traveling west, when you're traveling west, you save time, yeah? So we didn't pray another Fajr. Why? We already done it. Which prayer you cannot pray it twice? Fajr, one of them is. The second one? Which Salah you cannot pray it twice? No? Asr. Asr. If you pray Asr, you cannot pray a second Asr. If you pray Zuhr and your brother came to pray, you say, okay, I'll pray with you. I will gain more rewards and you will pray Jama'ah. You will get the reward of Jama'ah, of congregation. What's the other thing you are allowed in traveling? You are allowed to wipe over your socks for 3 days. While you're not traveling, you are in Solihull or Birmingham, wherever you are, you're allowed in the morning to make wudu and put on your socks. And when you want to make wudu for Zuhr, you just wipe over your socks, providing you didn't take it off. When you want to make wudu for Asr, you wipe over your socks. Don't be like those who take off their socks and shoes and things and put their feet in the basin. And if you are with a lot of non-Muslim community, they fill the basin with water and they wash their face. When they see you putting your feet in the basin, they get really annoyed and angry. That's beside, sometimes the basin is this big. If you want to make wudu in the plane, by the time you put water on your face, will be water everywhere. So you need to be tactful, and Islam allow you. So when you are making wudu for Zuhr, for Asr, for Maghrib, for Isha, wipe over your socks. And when it's the next morning, you have to take off your socks and wash your feet. And you are expected, I think, to have a shower at least, or you have to wash your feet and take off your socks. If you're traveling, you're allowed to wipe over your socks for 3 days. Because some traveling, especially when you have transit, you change the plane twice or sometimes 3 times, depending on how cheap you want your ticket. They might get you a cheap ticket, because you make a lot of changes. But if you are traveling, like my wife left here went to the airport at 10 o'clock, and she arrived the next day at Asr time. So it was more than 24 hours, 36 hours, 30. But if you go to Malaysia or Indonesia or Australia, it might take you 48 hours or more. If there's delay in the plane, so you're allowed to keep your socks on, providing you kept them on. I assume you kept them on because you're not going to take off your clothes and put your pajama and sleep on the waiting room in the airport. So you are allowed for 3 days to wipe over your socks, yeah? And please, when you are not traveling, you are in Solihull, Birmingham, wherever, make wudu in the morning, put on your socks, wipe over your socks for Zuhr prayer, for Asr prayer, for Maghrib prayer, and for Isha prayer if needed. Do not make the mistake many of the Muslims do. They take off their socks, put their feet in the basin, wash it, and then put paper on the floor, so they don't stand on the floor. And they leave the paper behind and the water everywhere. And people get really annoyed by us. The worst I came across, you will laugh at this, when I was in Wales, a university student coming from Middle East, you have the toilet there, and instead of putting their feet here and sit on the toilet, they put their feet here.
What?
And, because they get used to doing their business a hole in the ground. So there's no hole in the ground, there's the toilet seat. They don't want to sit on the seat. So they sit their feet on the toilet. And many times broke it. It came off. So they called us from the mosque. They said, come and see what's your student doing, the Muslim student. What can we do with this? What would you advise them? If they don't want to sit on the seat, they put drying tissue on the seat. And drying tissue, they are very thick. In our mosque here in Highland, they put drying tissue on the seat. And when they finish, they put the drying tissue in the toilet, and they don't flush because they are quite thick and become like a ball. And our cleaner, they had to fish them out. And he was happy to fish mixed with whatever it is. So what we do, what did we do, you think? Do you know what we did in the Highland? Any of you go to the Highland? We removed all the drying tissues. Not the toilet paper. Toilet paper is soft, they can't be flushed. But the drying paper, we got rid of them and we put air drying. So you need to press the bottom and dry your arms and things. And you can't lift your feet to dry them, so we expect you to wipe over your socks anyway. And you can't take the drying down to the loo. So we solved it. But in other places, you go, probably in the future, we'll work in an office, we'll work in the... you could be flying on the airplane. So when you're flying on the airplane, how are you going to do with wudu? Even your face is difficult. It's not only difficult, when you press the things to get water, when you lift your arm, the water will stop. Because a lot of taps, you press to get the water, when you lift your hand, water stops. So by the time you want to get some water to the face, the water stops. So at this time, what you are allowed to do in Islam and halal, what do? You are allowed to do something called... Who said the word? What did you say? What did you say, Dawood? Splash. Tayammum. That's correct. Very good. Salman, come and take a present. I like people who really sharp. You do tayammum. Tayammum, when there is no water, you do tayammum. And when the water is difficult to get, or even here difficult to use in the plane, even for your face is difficult. To wash your arm is difficult. So you might end having tayammum. I was on the plane and somebody went to pray, it seems. He's from Morocco. He had a stone, he took the stone and touched the stone and he made tayammum. And then he prayed. And then I saw him, I know this is salah, this is tayammum. When I was in hospital, you need to stay on the bed. You're not allowed to leave the bed for 24 hours or 48 hours. What shall I do with the wudu? Please bring me the sink here. Can I have a jug and a bowl? What for? I want to make wudu. We don't have this. Even if they have, they will not bring it to you. So what do? Tayammum. Tayammum. You can't move. You're not allowed to leave the bed. So how would you do tayammum?
My mum was appendix burst on holiday, so she was in the hospital for quite a long time in Bali. So she made us bring like stones and stuff to her room to get through.
They haven't got a stone in the hospital. I said there's no stone.
And we were like, we can't do it. So we had to spend ages trying to get them to allow us to let mum pray.
And if you get a stone, they will say this is full of germs. You're not allowed to bring to hospital. So what do? What did I do? Ask me what I did. I was there. I looked there. Everything from earth originates from earth. It is earth material. You can make wudu with it, tayammum with it. With sand, stones, iron, copper, magnesium, even gold. It's from earth. You make tayammum. So I looked, there's the stand which is carrying the drip, and the stand is metal. So you touch the stand, and you make tayammum first. Touch the stand, and make tayammum. If you are embarrassed, you ask people, in the nest to cover, draw the curtain around you so nobody see you if you feel embarrassed. And you make tayammum and you pray, but you're not allowed not to pray. Because the minute you are not praying, the Prophet ﷺ said, between us and the kafirin is salah. Whoever drops salah is kafir. So you don't want to go out of Islam by not praying. But you have no excuse not to pray. Even if you are on the plane, you make tayammum. If it's difficult to make wudu, you might have difficulty finding even there's the toilet. Or if you want to go and make wudu in the toilet and come back, the plane have taken off. You don't have time sometimes. Sometimes the airports are too big. When we went to Istanbul, the new airport is massive. They said, "Oh, you are old man, come," and they put us on the seat and in a car, this electric car inside the airport. When you're traveling, you're allowed to do tayammum. So you are allowed to shorten the prayer. You're allowed to wipe over your socks if you're traveling for 3 days. By the way, when you keep your socks on and your shoes on for 3 days, when you take them off, you might faint from the smell. It's really, especially if it's a hot country. But you are allowed to wipe over your socks because Allah Azza wa Jalla knows what He created. And probably it was easier the time of the Prophet ﷺ. It's probably more difficult our time, because in their time they were traveling on the horses or camels and they can't always stop. But if you are traveling with a plane, excuse me, can you land in the Cairo airport? Why? I want to make wudu and pray. We'll say, okay, we'll open the door for you and send you down on your own, make a wudu and salah and catch the next flight. So there's more difficulties, even if you are on a train. I don't know about you, but sometimes when you go to the train toilet, it's so awful. You don't want to even use it. When we were in Hajj, imagine, when I was in Hajj and my wife wanted to go to the loo in the airport, and she came back. She couldn't walk in because there were so many people and so careless about cleanliness that she couldn't use the loo. Had to wait till we arrived to the hotel. And the same with me when we were in Arafat. Yeah, you go to the loo, and it's 200 people ahead of you. The queue is 200 people. Can you hold yourself? So you are allowed, in circumstances, sometimes you have no choice but to make tayammum. You have no choice but. We were in Arafat, but we were unable to walk in or out. Out, obviously, outside Arafat, you can't go out. You need to be in Arafat. So we're in an area with a lot of people jammed, and a guy next to me, he has this 330 ml water, these small bottles. And he went to make wudu for Zuhr and Asr. I said, what are you going to do? He said, I'm going to make wudu. I said, first, that's 330 is not going to be enough. Secondly, if you make wudu here and you make mud around us, we don't want to sit on the mud. What shall I do? I said, make tayammum. Do tayammum. If you can't go to the water, go. But we stopped here because we couldn't go. There's so much jam. There's so much, we can't even walk. We get crushed. So there is circumstances where you have no choice but to make tayammum. If you are traveling, you're allowed to do tayammum. And you are allowed to do wipe over your socks. And you are allowed to do the shortening and praying together, because when you shorten and pray, believe me, or don't have to believe me, but there was a time when we are so busy going and traveling and going. If we want to pray Zuhr and Asr together, we're going to miss either Zuhr or Asr or both, especially in the winter. Zuhr 12 o'clock, Asr 2 o'clock, Maghrib 4 o'clock. And you need to pray them on time. You missed the flight, forget it. You will be cold, or the train, you will have difficulty. So pray before you leave, Zuhr and Asr, and pray when you arrive to your destination, or you have a long period of rest. Pray Maghrib and Isha. So Allah has made the Islam easy. The Prophet ﷺ said, in هذا الدين يسر. ولن يشاد الدين أحد إلا غلبه يسروا ولا تعسروا وسددوا وقاربوا. So the Prophet, the meaning of the hadith of Allah made this religion easy. And everyone tried to make it difficult, he will be defeated. So make things easy for people, don't make it difficult. وَبَشِّرُوا وَلَا تُنَفِّرُوا. Give them good news, don't give them bad. Oh, you're going to hell, you're going to hell, you're going to hell. Everybody going to hell, only you going to heaven. Say to them, you'll be okay, you'll be all right. Now.
Why do they make it difficult?
Make religion difficult. Some people make it difficult.
It doesn't have to be difficult.
It is difficult?
No, it doesn't have to be difficult.
Yeah, this is what the hadith is saying, make it easy. A guy came, I heard this yesterday story. A guy came to somebody who's a religious person. I want to make fun out of him. Just want to be sarcastic. He said, are you better or that dog? A bit insulting. And this guy was quite a nice guy. He said, when it's the time to walk on the Sirat over hell to paradise, if I cross the Sirat and on the other end, I'm better than the dog. If I am on the Sirat, a drop in hell, the dog better than me. The dog better than him. Why? The dog doesn't have to go to hell or paradise. But if you go to hell, that's really not a nice place to be in, and you're not going to get out of there. كلما أرادوا أن يخرجوا منها أعيدوا فيها. Every time they try to get out of hell, they will be sent back. So you can't go out. What's the next you can do in traveling? You can break the fast if it's Ramadan. If it is Sunnah, you don't have to fast anyway. But if it's Ramadan, you break the fast, especially if you're traveling for a long journey and especially if you are the driver. Now some people say, no, I can't drive from here to Scotland without breaking my fast. Yeah, you might not break my fast, but to break your car and break your neck, you lose concentration, you sleepy. When I was in Saudi, they said to me, if you are driving and you see trees on the way, you are asleep. Stop. Because there's no trees, it's all sand. It's all desert. If you start seeing trees and animals, you're asleep. Stop. When I got married, I took my wife, and it's quite a long journey. It's take around 24 hours driving. So we had to stop on the way and stay in a hotel. So we stopped in a village, and there is a hotel there. So we went to see the hotel, and there's a lot of cockroaches in the room, in the bedroom. My wife, cockroach, I will not sleep here. Okay, we had to sleep in the car. She didn't want to sleep, and then cockroach, walking over here, and you have some time. Obviously, no choice. So you also allowed, if you're traveling. Hold on, time is not open. You are allowed in the traveling is to pray nafila. If you are praying sunnah or nafila and you are in the car, not driving by the way, if you're not driving, go pray 2 rak'ah sunnah or 4 rak'ah sunnah, regardless where its qibla is. If you're praying farad, you need to face qibla, which if you're going on by plane to Hajj, to Saudi, the plane going towards qibla, but it's okay, you can pray farad because you're facing qibla. If you are coming back from Saudi, you're facing Britain, you can't do farad in the plane. You need to be facing qibla. But you can play sunnah if you're traveling. And the last one I want to mention to you, you don't need to travel for far to join the prayers. If you are like in the winter, you want to go shopping in Birmingham from Solihull, it might take you 3 or 4 hours. So Zuhr is 12 o'clock, Asr 2 o'clock, Maghrib 4 o'clock. So by the time you come home, it's already Isha. So what do? You pray Zuhr and Asr together, 4 rak'ah Zuhr, 4 rak'ah Asr, and you do your shopping, or you're driving a bus or driving a train or whatever, you're operating on somebody's brain, and when you come back home, you pray Maghrib and Isha together. So you can join the prayers without shortening. If you are traveling even a short distance, 5 miles, 6 miles, 10 miles, you can join the prayers together, and this is allowed. On your way out, I need to stamp number 45, 43.